Alright guys, with all of us here, and today I have a very special video for you. This is going to be my updated PlayStation 4 collection. I'm going to guess that there are about 50 games. I haven't done a PlayStation 4 collection since about 2016, and since then I have bumped my collection up quite a lot. I wanted to wait a while after my video game strategy guide collection video to do this because I knew there were a couple of games coming out that I wanted to talk about in my collection. I won't, when I go over games I've already talked about before in my previous PS4 collection video, I won't talk about them too long. I'll just briefly run past them and tell you if I played them again or anything like that. But my plan really is to focus more on the games that are new to my collection that you guys obviously haven't seen me talk about before. So that's what I want to get into. And I guess we should just start with the video. I just want to prefix it again. I don't feel incredibly well. I've got a really bad nose. I think I've got an ear infection. I think I still look good, which is a little bit confident, Ross. But no, I thought I'd get this video up today. I'm a little bit busy over the weekend at Hull Fair, so I thought I'd get this video up today. I just want to check the camera. Yeah, right in center of the camera. I'm going to show you each game naturally, and if you've seen it before, I'll run past it naturally. But I do want to talk about a couple of these games because a couple of these games are fantastic. So here we are, my updated 2018, well nearly end of 2018 PlayStation 4 collection. I have a glass of Iron Brew because I'm going to need it, and I have a fan because I'm going to need that too. So here we go. The first game is A Way Out. Now, A Way Out is, sorry for the glare, A Way Out. A Way Out is one of those indie games that came out very early on this year. I think it was around March or April, and it was a game that is based around co-op, and not a lot of games exist that are co-op, especially on this console and in this generation of games. So I am very, very happy to have it. It's a very, very fun game. It's about escaping from a prison. You take control of one or two inmates. There's Leo and there's the other one, Vincent. Leo and Vincent. I took control of Vincent. My brother, I actually played this with my brother. He took control of Leo, and it's a very, very fun story. There's not too many twists and turns until the ending, which is quite shocking, but I did kind of see coming. But it's actually quite a very well-written game. There's actually quite a lot of diverse gameplay. There's level variety. It's not just a shooting game, and I really, really like that. There's a lot of quick time events, which I think that this game is kind of the interactive movie, kind of meshed in with some kind of natural driving sections and shooting sections and that sort of thing, which is actually kind of, this game is, I tell you what, this game is actually liked by me quite a lot. I think this is actually one of my favourite games of 2018, just because it's a co-op game, and it's really nice to have a game I can sit down, split screen or online with my brother and play. And I know that I have friends who've also got this game who also want to play it, and I actually do want to play this game again at some point. So that is A Way Out. Second game is one I also haven't talked about before, Assassin's Creed, the Ezio Collection. I believe this is 2, Revelations and Brotherhood. I have never played Brotherhood or Revelations, so I thought I'd pick this game up for that. But I also wanted to pick it up because Assassin's Creed 2 is my favourite Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed 2 is just such a fantastic game. I think everybody is unanimous in that they think that 2 is one of the best ones. I think that 2 and Black Flag and Origins apparently is a really great one as well, and obviously Odyssey's out very, very soon. That's getting very, very good review scores. But I think everybody loves Assassin's Creed 2. I think Ezio is probably everyone's kind of favourite protagonist. So, yeah, I just thought I'd pick it up. I haven't started any of them yet. What you'll notice with a lot of these games I've picked up is I picked them up cheap, or I got them with Game Elite. I'm a Game Elite member now, so that helps me a lot, and that entices me to buy games a lot more. But I got a lot of them really, really cheap, and I just thought I'd have them just so eventually I can play them, add them to my collection. You know, I love collecting, and I like getting all of last gen's games on current gen because, you know, I love just having all my games on one system, and having 3 Assassin's Creed games on one disc is fantastic. And you'll see a couple more of those games that have just been ported or remastered or remade on the PS4 in my collection. But yeah, that is Assassin's Creed, the Ezio Collection. My nose is terrible, guys, I do apologise. The next one is Batman Arkham Knight. I've talked about this before, so I will not be talking about it. I haven't replayed it, weirdly. Battlefield 1, this is a game I haven't talked about again. Battlefield 1 came out, obviously, 2016, late 2016, and I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a real return to form for DICE. I think that Battlefront, as in Star Wars Battlefront, was a year before this, and I thought that was a total sham, as I talked about in my first PlayStation 4 Collection video. But Battlefront 1, fantastic game. I think there are too many fully automatic weapons. I think everybody said that. But I think it's a very, very great game. Great game. There's not a lot I can really say. Like, obviously the campaign's not great, and you know, it's not very long. But I think the multiplayer is what you buy a Battlefield game for, and I'm very much looking forward to Battlefield 5, which comes out on November 20th, I believe. But yeah, Battlefield 1, great game. I think I actually said it was one of my top 5 games on the PS4. I think I'd probably change that now, but maybe it's a tough one because it is a fantastic game. Next up, another port. We have the BioShock Collection. This is BioShock 1, 2, and Infinite. I've only replayed BioShock on the PS4. I haven't replayed 2. I've actually never completed 2. I didn't even complete it on Xbox 360. I think I got Sophia Lamb and I met her and all that sort of stuff, and Delta, and you got to find your daughter and all that sort of stuff. But I never finished it. I finished BioShock Infinite, obviously, on a 360, fantastic game. BioShock 1, fantastic game. BioShock 1, replaying it on PS4, it's just great. It's just so good, isn't it? It to me was probably the most polished game of the last gen. It just told such a well-rounded story that had its twists and turns, and it had its characters, Sander Cohen and Fontaine and Atlas and Tenenbaum. I think it was just one of the best written games of the last gen. Obviously up there with The Last of Us and Red Dead Redemption and games like that. But yeah, just quality games. A BioShock Collection is one of the best bundles you're going to get, I think, on the console. The BioShock Collection. Next up we have Bloodborne. I've talked about this before. This is a great game. If you haven't played this yet, you need to play it. Borderlands, the Handsome Collection. I weirdly have been playing... I was playing Borderlands 1 with my girlfriend, and I just decided, you know what, I'm actually really back into Borderlands. I remember buying the first Borderlands back in 2009 when it came out, and it really, great game. Great game. I still think it's a great game. I know some people don't like it. I think it's great. I'd never played Borderlands 2, or the pre-sequel, and obviously the Handsome Collection has both. So I thought I may as well just pick up the Handsome Collection. I got it decently cheap from Game Elite points, yay. And yeah, just, I haven't beaten either of them yet. I'm a decent way into Borderlands 2, again with my girlfriend. It's just a fun game to play co-op, I'm not going to lie. It's just balls out fun. There's a bazillion guns, and I just love it. I'm also playing as Zero, just to let you know. So the Borderlands, the Handsome Collection. My nose is so terrible, guys. I do apologise. Next up, Call of Duty World War II. This is the first Call of Duty game I think I've ever bought at full price at release. I was excited about Call of Duty World War II because of the first mission. So yeah, I saw the Normandy mission and I thought that's actually very, very well done. And it is very, very well done. But after that, the campaign is pretty numb, pretty boring. So I went straight to the multiplayer, and yeah, I played a lot of the multiplayer. I prestiged, and I think it's weird. It's the only Call of Duty I've ever prestiged. Yep, literally. I'm not that much of a COD head. I'm from Grimsby, so I'm a COD head. But as a Call of Duty fan, obviously I'm not that much of a Call of Duty fan. But this one I thought was pretty good. Pretty good. I thought, you know, I like the World War II style. I think they did it very, very well. But, you know, there's not that much content there, really, unless you're a real Call of Duty fan. I enjoyed it just because I could play it with friends, and I think that's why I like getting a lot of these games, just so I can play them with friends. So yeah, Call of Duty World War II. Am I getting Call of Duty, was it Black Ops 4? No, of course I'm not. Dark Souls 2 Scholar First Sin, talked about this in my other video game collection video. Still haven't played it, weirdly. Detroit Become Human, and what's great is I also have because I pre-ordered Detroit Become Human, I got a dynamic theme for my PS4, and I also got the art book. What's annoying, though, is when I picked up the art book, they didn't give me like a special case to put it with, so my art book just sits on top of my PS4 games. Detroit Become Human is a great game. I think that it's one of the best exclusives released this year for PS4. It's not the best, we'll come to that later. But it is a quality game, and I actually got this the same day I got my tattoo. So I went in to get this, I got in and picked this up, then went to get my tattoo. I had to wait quite a while to play this, obviously, because I was getting my tattoo and stuff. But yeah, I think this is a great game. I think it's not very subtle with its message of racism and anti-Semitism, but I think it's actually very well written. And I know that David Cage games usually are kind of laughable for their dialogue, but I think Detroit Become Human is, of the three, probably my favourite. The Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, which I'm not that big a fan of, and Fahrenheit, of the four, sorry. I think this is my favourite. I like the future style, I like the ambition that the game has, and I like the three main protagonists. And I also like the multitude of endings that the game can have. Obviously, you know, each character can die, and other characters can die, and everything leads into this fantastic tree of butterfly effects that just work really, really well. And I think kudos have to go to Quantum Dynamics, because Quantum Dreams, sorry, Crystal Dynamics is a team, isn't it? Quantic Dreams, sorry, because they created a world that is exciting, and it's a world that I'd like to see more from. I imagine they won't, because Detroit is a package, is a full complete package of story. But if they ever did some sort of spin-off, I would be very interested in it, because I think Detroit, as I said, very, very cool world, very, very well realised world, and it's a world that isn't too far away. And I think that it's an experiment to see what people think of this type of game on this gen, because obviously this is the first game that Quantic Dreams have released on this gen, and I think it did very, very well. I'm imagining it's their best-selling game, and I really enjoyed Detroit. I'm not going to lie, my girlfriend started playing it as well. She's really, really enjoying it. But yeah, Quantic Dreams, Detroit Become Human, I think this is a really, really good game. God, I didn't realise how many I had. It's amazing how many games you just sort of stack up over the years. It's been 2 years since I did a PlayStation 4 video, so I'm going to have a lot more games. Dishonored, the Definitive Edition. Dishonored on Xbox 360 is a great game. I haven't actually started this yet. I never finished Dishonored on Xbox 360, I'm not going to lie. And I haven't started this on on PS4. I really should, because it is a great game. It seriously is a great game. And if I beat this, then I can go and get the second one and just add it. I've got a fantastic PS4 collection, I think. And I just love having games like Dishonored in it, because one day I can just say, oh, I'm going to run through Dishonored over the weekend and just beat it. But yeah, it's a great game, Dishonored. I just haven't beat it on PS4 yet. Evil Within, it's still got the price tag on. That's annoying. $9.99. I didn't get it free for $2 though, I just bought it. I had Evil Within, if you remember, when I originally got my PS4, but I sold it because I got stuck. And I think I just decided, you know what, I should buy it back because it was a good game. It was a fun game, because I don't know, there was a certain level of horror that I thought this game had that the Resident Evil games have obviously been lacking. And yeah, so I picked up Evil Within again, £9.99. I'm not too bothered about paying that sort of price. But yeah, Evil Within, I haven't finished it. Still, as I said, a lot of these games I haven't started again, really. Obviously, I haven't started Dishonored, I haven't started Bioshock 2 or Infinite again, haven't started Dark Souls 2 after 2 whole years, and I haven't started Evil Within again. I think I'll probably just go from where I was in Evil Within, and I believe I was at a boss fight, and I think I had no ammo left, so great. But yeah, the Evil Within. Fallout 4, talked about this in my last video, it's still great. FIFA 15, I guess I can put these two together just because they're FIFA games, FIFA 15 and FIFA 18. I had a quality Ultimate Team by the end of this, with like a couple of Team of the Seasons from the Bundesliga. But yeah, these guys can just go together. I think the journey as well is probably the only thing that really needs to be talked about in FIFA now. It's exciting, the journey. Obviously FIFA 19 has its house rules mode and stuff like that. But I don't have FIFA 19 yet. I'm probably going to get it in a couple of months. Because at the minute I can't really afford it, because I've just bought 2 games, which I'll show you. Well, I'll show you one of them in a second. But yeah, I think the journey is quite a well written mode, as much as some of the dialogue is really, really cringy sometimes. Next up we have Fire Pro Wrestling World. on PS4. Now, this came out last Friday, and I've been playing the shit out of this since this came out. This game is great. This is probably the best wrestling game of the past couple of years. WWE 2K19 I've pre-ordered. That comes out on Friday. It's Wednesday today. And that can try and beat this, but this game is pretty excellent, I'm not going to lie. I haven't even started the Fighting Road mode yet, but the actual just wrestling is just totally simulation, and I love it, and I love having 37-minute matches that just go down to the wire and you kick out of your finisher. And I love playing as all these New Japan guys: Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada, my favourite wrestler in the world, Tetsuya Naito, Tomohiro Ishii, Michael Elgin's becoming one of my favourite characters to play as, Kota Ibushi. But yeah, this is just a great game, and all the match types as well: landmine deathmatch, SWA rules, gruesome fighting, barbed wire deathmatch, cage match. Like, so many. It's one of those games that I think is hard. It's simple to get into, actually, because I think that when all my friends come around to play it, I give them the mission mode, which is a nice training mode. I put them in the training mode and I say, look, do the first training session and you'll know everything. And pretty much everyone that's done it pretty much did it okay. They're not quite as good as me, because obviously I've put a lot more time in. I know about the stamina system and that sort of thing, but damn, this is a fun game to play multiplayer, and it's just a great game. And I imagine after this video I'll probably get back into playing some more Fire Pro World. But yeah, Fire Pro Wrestling World, great game. And the first game I could ever play as my favourite wrestler, Kazuchika Okada, so, well, my favourite wrestler currently. We have a couple more in the first pile. The first one is For Honor. I didn't get to talk about this in my original collection video, which is interesting because I believe For Honor was out then, but I hadn't purchased it. I purchased this probably a couple of months later. And I think the problem with For Honor is it had a lifespan. There are very few players playing it today, probably around 10,000, I think my friend said. But I do think it has its perks. I do think its combat system is very, very interesting and intuitive, and I think more games need to adopt that melee system. But I do think it's lacking in content, especially its campaign mode, which are its campaign, I suppose, mode, because there's three characters. There's the knight, the samurai, and the Viking. They're very lacking, especially in story and actual writing. I do think there's a lot of characters to actually play as. The Lawbringer was my favourite, the one with the big axe. Awesome. I just dominated people with him. But For Honor is a good game. I just think it got a lot of slack. It got a lot of shit when it first came out. I do think it also got too much praise, but I think it also had too much level to it, because I do think it's actually still a very good game. I have played again with my brother. Moving in, oh no, we are still in the first pile. Oh, okay, next game. God of War on the PS4. This is the best game of 2018. I don't think anything's come close, really. Detroit's a good game. There's a couple, obviously, Way Out's a good game. This is fantastic. This is a fantastic game. Red Dead Redemption is the one that I think will best try. I think Fallout 76, I'm going to buy it, but I think that it's got too many issues with the online only feature and that sort of thing. But God of War 2018, just a fantastic story, well written. The boss fights are excellent. The actual melee, for the fact that you only get 2 weapons throughout the whole campaign, is insanely well crafted. Like, the actual moves and arsenal, every boss fight feels important. Every health pickup feels necessary. Every time you use Atreus and you use his special arrows, feels necessary. And this is just an excellent game, God of War. It's a 10 out of 10 game. It is an excellent game with very few drawbacks. Just a terrific game, God of War. Really is terrific. I think it's Sony are nailing it with their exclusives at the minute, and God of War, it's at the very, very top of their exclusives for the PS4 at the minute, and I'd hesitate to say it's the best, because I think there are some other real quality ones, which I'm sure we'll get to in a minute. But yeah, it's got to be one of them. GTA 5, talked about this before. Obviously, it's still a great game. I do think the first-person mode on it is kind of iffy, especially when you go into cover. I think it's a bit rubbish. Next up, Steelbook, we have Hitman. The Hitman Steelbook. Basically, obviously, you know that I downloaded Hitman games, and I thought that, I downloaded this first season of Hitman on my PS4. I basically had some Game Elite points free, and I just thought I'd get the Steelbook just because I like Steelbooks, and I like owning everything on disc. The Hitman season 1 of it was, it was very good. A couple of the maps were trying a bit too hard. I think the Morocco map was trying a little bit too hard. But in the end, I do think it was a very, very good game, and I am looking forward to Season 2, which comes out in November. That's going to be a game I'm going to pre-order as well. I am actually very much looking forward to that. I'm going to have to make a new pile now. Next game is Hitman Sniper Challenge. This is actually the case for it. Actually, it was a download code, which I have put in, so don't try it. But yeah, I haven't actually played the Sniper Challenge really yet, to be honest, but I do need to. I'm just keeping the case just because it's nice. Next up, this is an interesting one. Hello Neighbor. Now, this was an indie game that was released last year on PC, this year on console, and I was first alerted to this by one of my. It's really, really hard to explain. I was alerted to this by someone who showed me like a song about the game, and then I decided this game actually looks decent, and I bought it, and I wasn't particularly thrilled by it. This cost me 30 quid. At full release, and I don't know, I've beat the first act of the game, but I'm not amazingly thrilled with the quality of the game. It's, I don't know, I think everyone kind of praises the AI, but I think the AI is actually really dumb, because they don't, the AI, the neighbor, doesn't actually have any strategy outside of running after you and throwing eggs at you. Like, it's a bit laughable. I don't really want to talk about this game too much. I don't think it's a terrible game, I just don't think it's very good. And one day I'll probably beat it, but at the minute I'm at the end of Act 1, and I really can't be bothered to play any more of it. I have so many other great games to play at the minute that game just gets pushed back. Alright, the next one. Oh, I can't wait to talk about this one. This game I haven't had a chance to talk about on my channel yet. Horizon Zero Dawn. Obviously, this came out in 2017. This is the complete edition, so I have the Frozen Wilds expansion. This game is just quality. Horizon Zero Dawn is one of the best games on PS4. It is a game that I think defied expectations, and I think that it's a game that people kind of laughed at when they saw it at E3, fighting dinosaurs with a bow and arrow. It sounds ludicrous, but no, Horizon is an excellently written game as well, and Aloy's character is so well layered. From the beginning prologue to the end of the third act, she grows as a character, and she grows on you, and you see how her actions affect the world, and it's a great story. It's a really great story. The gameplay is just fast and frenetic, and swapping and crafting arrows in game is excellent because you don't go into a menu for it. You can just do it on the fly. Time is slowed down a little bit. You can just do it on the fly. Firing arrows and destroying huge creatures like Thunderjaws is excellent, and every quest has cutscenes. And again, it's one of those things you just kind of praise a little game for, because it's Guerrilla Games, right? And parts of the game do feel like Ubisoft games. There's towers, which are basically these big tall neck dinosaur robots, and there's camps you've got to take out, but there's stories behind them. And I think that's what I appreciate most about Horizon Zero Dawn. It's probably one of my favourite games on the console. I wouldn't say it's one of my favourite games of all time, although it's very tough to say it's not. It is a fantastic game, and everybody on PS4 should be checking out Horizon Zero Dawn. And if you can, get the complete edition just because you get the free DLC. Next up, we have Injustice 2. Just everything that Injustice 1 was in an excellent fighter and an excellent Mortal Kombat DC fighting game. Injustice 2 is just better. I think the story's better written, and it's a bit longer as well, around 7 hours this time. And I think the roster is fantastic, especially if, like me, you have all the DLC. I have the Ninja Turtles, Black Manta, who is my character of choice. I just rip people apart with Black Manta. There's Starfire, there's Red Hood, Sub-Zero, Raiden, who's also Black Lightning. Just excellent choices for characters as DLC, especially Starfire and especially the Ninja Turtles. I thought they were a great choice. Oh, and Enchantress as well, who is one of the lesser characters in the game. My phone's just going off, guys. I do apologise for that. I'm just gonna. That is a shame. I'm gonna have to just ignore that for now and just turn my phone off. I do apologise for that, guys. I'm just gonna turn my phone off and I'll bring it back later. But yeah, Injustice 2, great game. One of the best fighters I may have ever played, just because of the content as well. There's so much content in Injustice 2. And yeah, for the money, I pre-ordered this, and this came out on the day of my friend's birthday, which was great. And he came down, and we just played the hell out of it. Just a fantastic game. One of the best games, I'd argue, on the console, really. I don't think a lot of people would say that about Injustice 2, but to me, I've just put so much time into it. So much time. Next up, LA Noire, again, another port. LA Noire was one of my favourite games of the 7th generation of gaming. And yeah, it's just a quality game, isn't it? It's just, I think that the facial recognition stuff is kind of aged a little bit, and I think the graphics have obviously aged a little bit. But LA Noire is still a great game, and it's a great story, and they haven't actually finished it. I think I'm on the Vice desk at the minute. But yeah, just quality game. LA Noire, quality game. And a really good cover. I think a better cover than the original LA Noire cover, which was very good as too. If you've never played LA Noire, if you've never played any of these games that have been ported to PS4 that I'm showing you, LA Noire, Assassin's Creed, the BioShock Collection, then I definitely recommend you check them out, and on PS4, that is the best way to play most of these games. Here we have Life is Strange, which I have talked about in a video before, so I'm not going to do it again. I also have Life is Strange Before the Storm on my console. I thought that was a very good game. I thought that it was a bit too forced sometimes with Rachel and Chloe's relationship, but I do think it was very well written. Sometimes it's got a corny dialogue, which I find that most of these kind of interactive narrative stories games have. But the episode, I pre-ordered it, so I actually got the special edition of that on the game, and I got all the clothes, and I got the bonus episode called Farewell, which was the best episode of all 4 episodes. It's better than the actual game. Just heart-warming. Well, not heart-warming, just heart-shattering. Fantastic. It was a fantastic episode, really. Next up, oh god, this is going to be a fun one. Obviously, favourite game of all time, Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect Andromeda. I picked this up at release, and I don't think Mass Effect Andromeda is a bad game, and I will never say Mass Effect Andromeda is a bad game, but it's not what I'd hoped for. I think that the only place really that it has come forward is in the gameplay department. I think that the shooting and the actual combat mechanics are far more advanced than Mass Effect 2 or 3 ever could have hoped to be. But outside of that, the stakes are just not as high as the original Mass Effect trilogy. When you go from a galaxy-ending battle to just the Archon and that sort of the Ket, like, who are the only enemies you fight in the entire game, really, it just kind of loses something. Your crew, who I don't think are necessarily bad, are by far the weakest crew that Mass Effect's ever had. The romances, which are obviously a staple of the series, and are one thing I really like, because I think they are very, not to kind of be silly with this line, but very human. They seem like normal romances would be. In this one, some of them, like the Cora one, which is the one I did, I don't know, seemed kind of forced. I've only done one romance with Cora, so I imagine some of the other ones might be a little bit better. There might be, maybe the one with, what's his name, Jarl, who we actually have a pop liner of, we've seen before. But no, I think as well, there are only 2 new races introduced in Andromeda. There's the Ket and there's the Angara, and the Angara are a very interesting race. And obviously, the problem is they recycle the thing from the Protheans turning into the Collectors from Mass Effect 2, which, they recycle it and say the Angara return into the Ket, and it's a bit lazy, but in the end, Mass Effect Andromeda is a good game, but it's not great, and that is not what I wanted from my... Oh god, okay, right, feeling a little bit better. The next 2 I've already talked about before. yeah, it's Phantom Pain. I've obviously got the steelbook and the normal case, so I'm not going to talk about that. Moving on, we have Metro the Redux, which I have not talked about before, but these are great games. Please pick them up. I am so looking forward to Metro Exodus. That's all I'm going to say. Metro Last Light is by far the better one, I believe. I think it's just better written, and I think its actual mechanics are actually just much more sound. But yeah, just a quality game, Metro. And the best thing about Metro 2033 in this bundle is that you can play it like Last Light, so with those sort of controls, so and that sort of HUD. So that's great. And also, I do recommend that at least once you do play through these games on Ranger mode with no HUD, with no ammunition counter, just to see if you can do it, because it is a very tough ask. I love the Metro games. Metro Last Light is one of my favourite games of all time. Let's just pick up the rest of this pile. Just put it up here. Oh. Right, Mortal Kombat X. I believe I have talked about this at some point. I did talk about this. It's a very good game. Overwatch, the Origins Edition. I bought Overwatch release. Overwatch is a fantastic game. I don't think it's amazing. I don't think it's like this best game ever thing. I don't think it was Game of the Year for 2016. I'll talk about what was, because I've got it in this list somewhere. But yeah, Overwatch is still a great game, and it's Overwatch, isn't it? PES 2016, that doesn't need talking about. Payday 2, I've talked about that before as well. I'm getting to a couple where I've talked about them before. Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6, I can basically put these two together. I buy these games because, okay, I really like Resident Evil 5, I'm not going to lie, I've really always liked Resident Evil 5. I think it's, I don't know, I like Resident Evil 4 so much, and Resident Evil 5 is just a little bit more actiony than Resident Evil 4. So it's like, okay, it's not quite as good, but it's still good. Still a good game. And also, they're both co-op, which is why I like them so much, because they're co-op, and I appreciate co-op games. I am not going to lie. Especially because I think this one is a really good game, and I really do like the cover. Resident Evil 6 is different. Resident Evil 6 was a game I picked up because I needed to just get it on PS4. I have Resident Evil 4 and 5. Resident Evil 4 is on my system, which really annoys me, because now I know it's on disc. I'm going to want it on disc. Resident Evil 6 is a weird game. Like, I've beat 2 campaigns on this so far. Obviously, on the Xbox, I've beat them all. I've beaten Ada's campaign, and I've beaten Sherry and Jake's. And one day I'll go through them and just finish off the other stuff. I played a lot of the online modes on this, weirdly. There's nobody playing it, obviously. There's about 100 people playing, but I don't know. I kind of enjoyed it. I mean, it's not great, but I don't know. I think sometimes I just like playing Resident Evil games. I think it is one of my favourite series of all time, to be fair, and I have always loved it. So yeah, it's very hard for me to rate Resident Evil, to hate Resident Evil. It took me, I mean, I hate Umbrella Corps. I've only played Umbrella Corps a little bit, but that's a terrible game. And I don't really like Operation Raccoon City. I replayed that actually on a PS4, because obviously I used my PlayStation Now and replayed it just because I kind of wanted to. And yeah, that game's not very good. So actually, we're in the final pile, and I'm actually really excited. Sometimes it's really cool for me to actually go through my collection and just see what I've got, because it has been a long time. So we start with Resident Evil Revelations 2. I believe I bought this in 2015, just after it was released on disc for like £20, which was really, really good. And I still think this is really, really good. I beat this probably about a year ago with my friend Owen, and yeah, it's actually really, really good still. I think this is better than Resident Evil 6 by far. Just because there's 2 characters and they both do different things. Like, I just think that's a really cool mechanic that not enough games do. I'll tell you what, I'll start my pile aside instead. Resident Evil 7. This is a quality game. Serious quality. One of the best games of 2017. I don't think better than Horizon. But one of the best games of 2017. Just an excellent horror game. And Resident Evil hadn't done that for a long time. And obviously my second favourite game of all time is Resident Evil 4. And that's the game that kind of steered them away from the horror games. That doesn't mean I don't appreciate the horror games too. As I said, Resident Evil 2 is probably my favorite, second favorite Resident Evil after 4 and then probably the remake. But Resident Evil 7 is probably my fourth favorite because it is quality. The Baker family are scary, and the first time I played the game, every boss fight was tension filled. It was dramatic, and I pooed my pants quite a lot. Yeah, it's just it's one of those nice little things, Resident Evil 7, that I think just kind of came out of the blue and was just like, hey, we have a new Resident Evil game. Hey, it's actually really scary and really good. And I'm like, thank God, because we needed one after 6. But 6 isn't that bad. Okay, look, 6 is a weirdly good game that's stupid, but it's bad too, really. Rainbow Six Siege, I've talked about this before. This has been, that game though, Rainbow Six Siege, Rainbow Six Siege has gotten so much better since it was released. I bought this at release and it was not worth the £50 I spent on it. Now, because of how many operators there are, because of the, I don't know, there's just more content, and that is fantastic. And I haven't actually played Rainbow Six Siege in a long time, so I should probably give it a go again at some point. Saints Row 4 re-elected, I've talked about before. You know what's funny is I am at the same spot in that game I was when I talked about it originally on my channel. Oh, this one. Okay. Okay, so I've played this game on PS2, and it's a great game, and I thought it was a great game, blah, 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 blah. When I replayed it on PS4, it became one of the best games I've ever played, I think. I think because of how well it transitioned, and I don't think I've seen a port look as beautiful as this. Shadow of the Colossus PS4. Oh my god, I adore Shadow of the Colossus. It's just a fantastic game. If you haven't played Shadow of the Colossus, you have no excuse anymore. You have no excuse to not play Shadow of the Colossus on PS4, because it is stunningly good. Like, especially because, honestly, it has transitioned better than most PS3 games have to PS4. Like, it looks beautiful. It looks like a PS4 game. It honestly looks like a PS4 game. I am so proud of how well that game was ported, honestly. And that has become one of my favourite games. Not the PS2 version, the PS4 version. And that is a version you should play, because it's stunning. Sleeping Dogs, I talked about that before. Sleeping Dogs is actually one of those games that I still really love, and I still think it's really underrated. And speaking of games I really love, probably the second most recent game to be released in this list, Spider-Man. Now, Spider-Man PS4 is, I'm going to say, the best Spider-Man game I've ever done. It's just an excellent game. Like, honestly, the web swinging feels tight. The story is... Okay, so I think the one thing that people don't like about the story is there isn't, like, a boss every hour. I think the story is more cohesive, and it tells, like, a more complete story where there's boss fights at important times, and in the last act, it just throws boss fights at you. And one of the boss fights with Rhino and Scorpion is one of my favourite things I've played all year. It just... I mean, look, the game says, be like Spider-Man, and it's the most I felt like a superhero since the Arkham games, and I would say I prefer this definitely to Arkham Knight, maybe not to Asylum or City, because those games are nearly untouchable, but yeah, this is one of the best games of 2018 as well. I don't think it's quite as good as God of War, but still one of the best games of 2018, just a quality title that promised so much and delivered even more, I think. Especially because I think being Peter Parker was just as fun. I think that the stealth sections were a bit rubbish, playing as MJ and Miles, and I think they were really unnecessary. But the promise as well that game has of a future with Miles Morales being Spider-Man 2, I want Marvel Spider-Man 2 by Insomniac. I really want that for in a couple of years. Please, Insomniac, give us that game. Star Wars Battlefront, I'm just going to skip it. Tomb Raider the Definitive Edition, I have not started this yet, as it's another one of those ports just haven't started yet. Was a quality game on last gen, the first Tomb Raider, and obviously Shadow of the Tomb Raider recently came out, so really I should start playing through that one and maybe pick up Rise at some point, because apparently that's a really good game, although I wouldn't know because I haven't played it. We're doing decent time, I'm actually quite surprised. This is the game that I think is probably the game of 2016. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. I don't know if it's the best one in the series, but I would argue it is. I'd say it's better than 2, just because of the way everything moves. I don't know if there's a game that looks as slick or as, like, just as slick, as clean as Uncharted 4. Like, there doesn't seem to be any problems when you look at the game, its presentation, with the voice acting, with the sound design, with its actual visual presentation. It is just a beautiful game. Like, and it's a beautiful story as well. Like, and I think when everybody went into Uncharted 4, they didn't expect the story to be as compelling as it was with Nate's brother, Sam, and honestly, I wish there was more Victor goddamn Sullivan and maybe a bit more Elena. But outside of that, Uncharted 4's quality. Absolute quality. And I guess I should kind of put this game with it. This is Uncharted: A Lost Legacy. This was like the spin-off that came out a year later, that I would argue is just as good as any other Uncharted game. Probably not 2 or 4, actually. But I would argue this is better than 1 and 3. Playing as Chloe Fraser feels different, and the game is a little bit shorter than most Uncharted games. This one took me about 16 hours. This one only took me about 7. But it's one of those games that it was really great. It was really great, and I actually, I honestly, when this came out in 2017, I thought this would be one of the best games of the year, and it you know what? It still really, really sticks up. I think the one thing that people do say is it's not very long, and that's the one thing that really hinders it. I think the villain is one of the best villains in the Uncharted series as well, and I think Chloe's relationship with Marlene. It's not Marlene, is it? I can't remember her name. That is terrible. I can't remember her name. I can't believe I can't remember her name. Unbelievable. That woman is excellent. To the point where I can't remember her name. Next up, The Walking Dead Season 1 and The Walking Dead Season 2. These are both excellent, and it makes me sad that Telltale have had to basically go into administration, because it means that the series will never be finished. I do have New Frontier on my console. I never bought Michonne, weirdly, but I do have these on disc. These are quality stories, and I do think that the quality in the writing actually does dip from 1. I think 1's perfect. Just this story is just excellently written. 2 is very, very good. New Frontier's maybe trying too hard, and apparently the new one's not that great, and I think we know why now. We're getting all these rumours about Telltale staff being overworked and underpaid. But yeah, it's a shame that Telltale is gone, because it means there's no Wolf Among Us 2 either. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is still one of the best games I've ever played. Is it the best game on the console? It's very tough. It's very tough to say it is. It's very tough to say it. But I think I'd say so. And I haven't played it in a couple of years, so. Wolf Among Us, I think the next one should be, the next couple of games kind of just blend together. The Wolf Among Us I've already talked about before, and then we have WWE 2K15 and WWE 2K16. I also have, it should be there, WWE 2K18. I have WWE 2K19 on pre-order, which means I get Ronda Rousey and I get Rey Mysterio, which is fantastic. And then the last game of the list is Zombie Army Trilogy. I basically just picked this up because I really, really like that scope mechanic that Sniper Elite games have. The one where you shoot a bullet and it like follows the bullet into the enemy's body. I really, really like that. And that is my PlayStation 4 collection, guys. Thanks for watching. This has been Roll. So like, comment, subscribe for more. Tell me your thoughts. What do you think to my game collection? Do you think there's any more games that I need? Do you think there's any games that I should be playing immediately from this collection? What do you think to my collection overall? Thanks for watching, guys. This has been Revolver Rosala.